we are not here to tell you when. That's not our job. We are here to tell you where and how. Hello, you little darlings and Daleks. For those who like Doctor Who, I hope you're well today. Today I'm sharing with you. I'm talking from the heart. I'm sharing my worries and concerns. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So over the last few months, there's a beautiful little man who works in another country, in Bangladesh, and he's been working on the channel. He's been working on my other channel as well, but working on the channel on YouTube, trying to get it moving a bit because it's been a bit stuck, has it not? For about 5 years or more. And since I started giving the emissaries message, it got a bit stuck. And he's doing a great job. And I think two or three videos back, one video went viral. It went viral. Well, for me, viral. Now, the one before that went to 7,500 people that saw the video. But this one is now at 11,500, never before seen. And I was getting quite excited about that because I've always, I think the emissaries have got a lovely message. And the idea that more people can get the message and, hear it and think, well, hey, I can be a bit calmer. Not calmer, the other calmer, but calmer, then great. But the emissaries have always said, don't worry about it. It's not important, the amount of people that watch the videos, because it's the speaking of the message that actually puts the energy into the ether. They've always said that. But hey, I'm human. I want to see the channel go well. I want to see it go way, hey. So anyway, it's starting to pick up now, and that's also thanks to other people sharing the videos, thanks to Gary, because Gary's been sharing the videos as well. We've been doing chats together, and that's helped a lot as well. And other people are sharing them as well. Mark Atwood shared a video, and that went really well as well. So thank you to everybody who's been helping. But of course, the flip side is that if 11,500 people are watching the video, it better be a fucking good one. And so I was starting to feel a bit under pressure. Like, holy shit, because I've always had this worry. That, like, what if they don't give me anything to say? What am I going to talk about? If I go and connect with them and I just think, well, there's nothing to say. It's, if they just said, everything's just the same as usual, just go about your business. What? Yeah, but what I've got to tell everyone? And so that was a concern to me, like, ooh, well, I'm going to have to, do I have to, like, up the ante? Do I have to, I don't know, be extra interesting or something like that? Add to that when you have 11,500 views, some of the comments then end up a little bit negative. I've got to say that the vast majority of people are so beautiful in the comments. Thank you for all the beautiful comments. But every now and again, somebody will come in and go, God doesn't exist. You don't know what you're talking about. And what happened was somebody put a message on saying, I saw your videos 5 years ago and I've seen you again today and you're still talking about the same stuff. And I thought, well, he's right. It's true. It's true. What can I say? I mean, it happens to me. I see people who I used to watch right at the beginning of the pandemic who were saying, hey, Intel. Oh, I saw, who did I see just the other day? Simon Parkes. And I thought he'd stopped doing all he's still there, he's still doing his thing. And he was talking about, the money that's coming to pay for people's projects. Can you remember that you were saying, all right, the money's going to come and everyone's going to be opening the health centre. Everyone wanted to open a health centre. Everyone's going to open the health centre and all of that. They're all going to be paid. We were still talking about it. And I think about 5 years have passed, or 4. So I understand what that guy was saying. Hey, Gordon, you're just here waffling on about the same stuff. Now, before I get into that, there's a system that I use in life. I've used it ever since I started building teams. My job was to be the team builder in our factory. I would build little units, and always the unit had to be between 7 and 8 people. Beyond that, it would fall into disarray. It wouldn't be a team. There would be infighting. It would not be good. I mean, there's always infighting when, a team builds like this, forming, storming, norming, and performing. Yeah? And the storming bit is always not very nice. It's a bit stormy. Our team have gone through that storming, that infighting. You know, that I'm talking about our team as in the people who do this kind of work. But what I discovered was this is the system I use, that 1 person in every 10 is a dickhead. Now, it's just, you know, and it sounds a bit harsh. It's like, Gordon, are you not being a bit harsh there? 1 person in every 10 is a dickhead. Yes, that's what I've found. And it's for you they're a dickhead, maybe for other people they're not. But there's always 1 person in about every 10 that you just find difficult to cope with. All you have to do is look at your family. And I've found this all of my life. I look at my family and think, what a beautiful family I've got. Oh, we get together, it's so lovely, except for him. He's a bit of a dickhead. And I don't know why it happens, but there always seems to be like 1 person who spoils it for the rest. Well, it's the same when you get lots of messages. You know that every now and again you're going to get the not very nice message. So I thought I'll run this by the emissaries, see what they think, because it's fair enough. We're given the same message 5 years, 6 years down the line. So I asked them, and they said, you don't have to worry about that. They said, we came and we asked you to do a job, which was to give the message. You agreed, and that's it. They said, the message comes from us, it doesn't come from you. It comes from us. And they said, we were given a job. And, you know, when they first came to me, and I know I've told this story before, but there's lots of new people who are watching. When they first came to me and they contacted me through meditation, and when at the beginning it was just head nods and you know, it was like a pendulum but using my head. But then I could hear them, and they said, we have come with a message of great hope about the Great Awakening. Will you share it? And by the way, we're called the Emissaries of God. And I was like, I said yes, but it was a tough decision to make. I was very scared when I first started. But that was their message, a message of great hope about the Great Awakening. And that's never changed. And they said to me, it would be a damn sight worse. They didn't use damn sight, I'm adding that. They said it would be a lot worse if we kept changing the message all of the time. That wouldn't be good. And it's true. If they say, actually, it's not the Great Awakening, it's the Great Sleeping. No, it's in fact, and you know, we've seen that a lot, like people having to change the message because they over-egged it. The emissaries have never over-egged it. I mean, it was only recently that I said, oh my goodness, the energies are changing more than we ever expected. But that's as much as they get into. They never over-egged it. They just say, we're in the Great Awakening, and it's all going to be sorted and it's going to come good. That's their message. And they said to me, it's for that reason that we never have given you dates, intel, all of that. And they said, we never will. We never will. And they said, the reason that we can't give you dates is that there are so many things involved in how we move forward. There are so many elements that can change the status that it doesn't make sense to predict. And I'll come to that in the next video. I'll talk about what these things are, what actually is involved in everything that's happening and how things can change. And they said, were we to give you dates, because they said we could, based on where we are now, probably by, next Thursday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this is going to happen. They said, but then 2 minutes later, the energies have shifted and that date's defunct. And of course, what happens when you give dates, false dates, and they're not false at the time. I believe a lot of people connect and can actually, remote viewers can actually see stuff. But it's based on the energies right now. It's based on a projection from here out. It's like shining a light. If you imagine, you've got a big strong beam of a torch and you shine it out into the future. The problem is the beam's coming from here. It's from this place. But tomorrow comes, you shine the beam and it's different. There's something changed. And that's because the energies are changing. But what happens is that you get what's called buyer's remorse. people buy into it. They go, yeah, brilliant. I'm so excited. I can't wait for this to end. I think we all can't wait. But I can't wait for this to end. And then Tuesday at 3 o'clock comes and they're all going, oh, man, I've been tricked again. And then they won't watch that channel. Then they're annoyed at the person, they're angry at the person, and then they start thinking that the person's a plant, that they're a charlatan, that they are, what's that word? I can't think of it now, where they're put in there by the baddies and stuff like that. And so I think a lot of people have lost credibility, and they're really good people. There was a lady, a blonde lady, I can't remember her name now, and right at the beginning, she channeled and she downloaded stuff, and she would give mega intel. Well, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. It's going to be next week and next month. And she did it for ages, but then it wasn't happening. What she was saying wasn't happening. And then I saw her, it was a post she did or a video she did where she said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do any more of that, because I was starting to find that people were demanding information from me. I was giving information, but I'm not sure where it was coming from. And I think I was forcing it, Because everybody wanted good news then, didn't they? We all wanted good news. Give me some intel. And of course, he realised that, no, hang on a minute, that's not working. That's not going to work. The emissary said to me this, a very, very contundente. What's the word that's in Spanish? Contundent? I don't think so. Very sort of dynamic. And they said, we are not here to tell you when. That's not our job. We are here to tell you where and how. That's what they said. When is not their job. What they said is, it's coming. We know it's coming. We can see the plan. We can see the way it lays out. But what we can't tell you is when it's going to be there. They said, we are here to signal the pathway, to light the pathway for everybody to go along. So that's why the message hasn't changed. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of stories about prophets who were giving the message for a long time, the same message. So this one prophet was spoken to by God, right, one day, and God said, "Oh prophet," in that deep voice, godly voice with a big bushy beard, "Oh prophet, go to the village, the town, the city, and tell them that if they do not change their ways, I will smite them with a heavy smoting that is of my want." And so the prophet went to the city, and he stood there, and he stood in the square, as all good prophets do, and he was saying, "Repent, repent, for the God of the heavens will smite you down if you don't become good people." Okay? Nobody took a ha'porth of notice of him. Nobody listened to him. Day after day he went there for weeks and months and years, saying the same message. Nobody listened to him, and nothing happened. Maybe God had gone out for a sandwich. But there he was, given the message. And this man, who'd watched the prophet for years, was just sitting in the square, and he thought, I'm going to talk to him. And he said to the prophet, "Can I ask you a question?" The prophet said, "Yes, absolutely. I need a bit of a break." Yes. He said, "You've been giving this message for years. Why do you keep giving the message when clearly nobody's listening?" And the prophet said, "Well, at the beginning, I rather hoped I could change people. But now that I see that I can't change people, I keep giving the same message so that they don't change me." And I think that's something that we all can relate to. Maybe that's why we keep doing it. It isn't that we think we're going to change everybody, but bloody hell, they're not going to shift us. No way, man. And then that leads me to the next story about the prophet. Some of you may have heard this story before, about the prophet that one day God came to him and said, "Prophet," big bushy beard again, "Prophet, go to the city, go to that country and tell them that if they do not repent, I will bring a rain that is poisoned. I will poison the water and they will all go mad as hatters." Do you know where the expression "mad as hatters" comes from? It comes from the people who used to make hats, and they used to use mercury in the process. And after a while, they would go mad. That's where the "mad as hatters" comes from, apparently. So my mum taught me. So the prophet went to the village, the city, I think it was a city or a country, maybe even bigger, and he said, repent, repent, because if you don't, God's going to bring this rain and it's going to poison your water and you're all going to be as mad as a box of frogs. And nobody took any notice. We're seeing a pattern here. Nobody paid any attention to what he said. And so he kept doing it until finally the clouds came over. Well, the prophet scarpered. The rains came, poisoned the water. Everybody drank the water and they went mad. They were off the rockers. But the prophet, because he knew what was going to happen, he had put up in the mountains in a cave enough water to last the rest of his life. So he was set up. And there he sat in this little cave there, meditating, being the Buddha, and drinking his clean water. But one day he thought, hey, I think I'm just going to go down and have a look and see what's going on down there. So he went down, and as he walked toward the people, they looked at them and he could see that they were mad. But they looked at him and they could tell that he was different. And they said, he's mad. Let's go and kill him. And they all went running for the prophet. Well, the prophet had to leg it. Yeah, despite his big beard, he'd grown a long beard, he had to lift up his beard and run like the dickens. Anyway, he got back to his cave and he thought, I'm not going down there again. Bloody hell. Dangerous down there. And he just was sipping his water and living his life and everything. And a month passed, and 2 months passed, and 3 months passed, and a year passed. And he was desperately alone. He was desperately sad. He'd entered into a depression. I mean, there's only so much you can do in a cave with water. He didn't know what to do with himself. And one day, he couldn't take it anymore. And he got up and he walked down to the people. And he went to the water's edge and he drank the water and he became as mad as them. And that's the story. The difference with that story is this. With us, there is no return to the water. There is no drinking the poisoned water. Because once you've woken up, there's no return. Once you've come out of the matrix and you're on the scruffy side, you can never believe that the Matrix is real again. Can you remember in the Matrix, the man who was the traitor, and he did a deal and he said, I just want to be there and I want to be able to have everything. The problem was that he would never, ever be able to believe it to be true. Yes, it would be titillating. Yes, it would make him feel good for a moment. But on the inside, he would be unhappy and he would be rotten. That's the problem. We can't go back. This is a one-way journey, a one-way ticket to the moon. There's a song coming to my head there. That's it. We've done it. Once you've woken up, done deal. And all you've got to do is keep preaching so that they don't change you. I love you all. Put in the comments where you've been preaching, where people haven't been hearing. I think there might be a lot of comments there. I love you all and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.